Hello everyone, my name is Nick and today it's time for another houseplant tour video. So this is going to be my autumn 2021 houseplant tour, and this is going to be the first plant tour that I'm doing that is taking place in this apartment. If you have seen any of my other houseplant tours, most of them have occurred in my previous apartment, which was a lovely 2-bedroom home here in Philadelphia that was roughly 850 square feet that I shared with one of my best friends, but I've since downsized, upgraded to a lovely 1-bedroom apartment that is roughly 650 square feet that sports some wonderful east-facing windows. So you could surmise that I had to downsize my plant collection a little bit there during the move. I probably have around 300 to 350 plants at the moment. I haven't counted recently. Still a lot of plants, mind you, but I've been taking care to make my home look a little bit more plant-styled and a little bit less plant-hoardish. We're kind of somewhere in the middle right now. But as always, I'm gonna go around and tell you guys the name of every single houseplant, probably a blurb here and there, but there are 300 to go through, so I'm probably not gonna spend too long on each plant. I also have recently done an apartment tour video focusing on all of the pieces in my home, so if you're wondering about any furniture or art pieces or doodads that I have in my home, you can go check out that video, but this video is going to be all about the houseplants and the foliage that I have around my home. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So when you first walk into my apartment, you're gonna be greeted by my living room slash kitchen room slash main room kind of deal. But I walked in this little entryway situation. Hello. So on the floor next to the mirror in my entryway, I have this Sansevieria TRIFASCIATA LAURENTII, the yellow edge snake plant. And on top of the mirror, I have a handful of cuttings that I keep in different colored glasses, but most of them are duplicates that I have around my home, so I'm not really gonna touch on them at the moment. I also have this DRACAENA, I think this is a DRACAENA Golden Coast, they call it. A really lovely low-light houseplant for the interior of my space, as well as this ASPIDISTRA Milky Way. It might have a different real name, but on the market it's known as ASPIDISTRA Milky Way. Very hardy houseplant. I am horrible with watering this thing. I probably throw it in the shower like every 3 weeks, but I've had it for like 2 years now and it's been holding up, definitely. I have a couple plants that I really shouldn't even be showing you because I haven't watered them in a long time, but I have this ZZ plant, which I'm constantly turning because it's always getting like in front of my door and I'm afraid I'm gonna shut it in the door. I have a neon pothos down there, a Peperomia aureum neon, and a Nergelia Zoe. All of these desperately need water. I have not focused on this area in a long time, but let's go into the kitchen first. I have this little area over here, which I have this little Philodendron branchianum and a little Peperomia folia. In the kitchen, my things aren't receiving, the best light because they're pretty far away from these windows that are over there. However, I do have this little like LED light strip that was built into the apartment underneath these cabinets, and they seem like they're doing the job, so I've been growing a couple plants over here, trying it out, and so far so good. But I have this MONSTERA Adansonii, this little Syngonium podophyllum mini. This was from my terrarium video that I did recently, and it was an extra, so I planted it up in this little planter, and it's adorable. I have this Paeonia pulchra. There is this Rapis excelsa, Rapis palm, or lady palm they call it, very, very small baby one. You're usually going to see these much larger in like hotel lobbies. A Sansevieria TRIFASCIATA. I think this was sold to me as the black coral one, but it's looking very Zeylanica-y to me right now, but they're both fabulous, so I couldn't care less. I have this Begonia ERYTHROPHYLLA. Very lovely. It's got a nice red shade on the back. There's a couple orchids right here that I just watered that I just recently decided that I don't like where they're at. Well, this one's been here for a while, but this one, I just recently moved, but I still need to find them a home. This one's a coconut orchid, or Maxillaria tenuifolia. This one, I totally forget the name, and it came off, but I'll put it on screen. I have over here on the counter this Zamioculcas zamiofolia, which I keep in my little incense tray. ZZ plant, fantastic low light plant. I always say about this, if you water it more than you pay your rent, it's too much. However, this one in this tiny little 4-inch terracotta pot, I probably water like every 2 or 3 weeks, but you can do the math. This little Crassula ovata here, it's a mini one, Crassula ovata minor. Kind of just sitting here because I was dealing with some mealybug and I haven't really finished that. But we'll get there. I have a Sansevieria parva right here. Still have to find a spot for it. That's from Glass Houseworks from that unboxing I did recently. There's some wimpy cuttings of the top of my Jose Buono philodendron. The rest of the plant was looking good, but these top leaves were pretty wimpy, so I decided to cut them off, but I figured why not try propagating them, but I just did that like yesterday, so still have to find a spot. And the terrarium that I made in my recent terrarium video, this is an Asplenium, I forget exactly what kind. This is a Peperomia napoleonites, and then there is a Nematanthus, black gold. Of course, the light's kind of reflecting, but you can go watch the terrarium video if you haven't seen this already. I have a lovely PILEA grandifolia right here with some lovely green foliage. Over on the console table, I have this AGLAONEMA, which the name is completely slipping me. I will put it on screen, but these leaves are just so cool. It's very grassy, very different than many of the AGLAONEMAs that I grow in my home or that I've seen before. So when I saw this one at like a Lowe's or Home Depot like 6 months ago, I had to get it. And then inside the glass cloche here, I have a Begonia NATUNAENSIS. I always forget how to pronounce this, and of course the glass is going to be reflecting pretty poorly, but a really cool begonia. It's grown a bunch for me since I've gotten it in my Steve Leaves unboxing video a couple months ago, and it's been growing fabulously over on the console table, which doesn't have any grow lights above it, and it's pretty far away from the window, but this glass cloche probably has something to do with that, which I got this glass cloche from IKEA, if you're curious. They have a bunch of different kinds there. This is a philodendron Bernardopazii. I don't love having this here. I would like to move it because this and my AGLAONEMA modestum right here, this plain green AGLAONEMA, I would like to get out of here so that I could focus on these other plants that are just kind of the star of the show here, which include this DRACAENA Janet Craig, just the plain green DRACAENA. There's this AGLAONEMA, ooh, I forget the name of it on the top of my head. Spring Snow, I think. There's also a bunch of different names for these AGLAONEMAs. Really, really gorgeous foliage on this one. I absolutely love it, and I paired it with this lovely emerald green Berg's pot, one of my favorite brands of planters. So you can see why I would like to get these two terracotta plants out of here, just to get the focus on these wonderful green planters that I have here. And then my Philodendron gloriosum, which is looking glorious as the name implies. I got this like 3 or 4 years ago from, I believe, NSC Tropicals, and at the time it was like a 4-inch pot with like 2 plants in it, and I got it for a steal in today's currency. It was like $25, I think, maybe $29. And it's really grown quite a bit. I've propagated it a couple times, but you can just see how gorgeous these leaves are, and they're getting really, really huge. And I even have a lovely new leaf coming in the back there, but as this is a creeping philodendron, it's at the edge of the planter there, as you can probably kind of see the leaf is coming up right at the edge, so if a leaf comes in after that, it might accidentally strangle itself in a way and snap, so I might actually need to consider either propagating that part of the philodendron or either repotting this into a more suitable planter, but I've already up-potted it so many times. It's in a rather large planter in comparison to the 4-inch planter that I purchased 3 or 4 years ago. Okay, so on the shelf over here, I have this Aschenanthus longicalis in the bottom here, the black pagoda lipstick plant. This one's kind of wimpy. I've had it for a couple years, and I feel like just in the last year, it hasn't really done anything except die back. Probably my fault. I have this hemigraphis or hemigraphis. I don't know exactly how to pronounce it. Really cool plant. Got this in one of my like come plant shopping with me videos, and I had no idea what it was, but I just thought it was absolutely gorgeous, and it's proving to be a really excellent houseplant. Still need to get a nice planter though. It's kind of sitting in its little 2-inch planter. Also RUELLIA MAKOYANA, which is flowering beautifully for me right now. And then this silver lace fern, which is a terrace, I think it's pronounced. And Begonia melanobullata, looking okay. I think this is its better side. Here we go. But it's got some really funky, like, hairy, warty leaves. It's pretty phenomenal. There is a Hoya carnosa right here, just a plain one. This little peperomia right here I got from Gully Greenhouse in one of our unboxing videos. They called it Peperomia angulata. It looks very similar to Peperomia quadrangularis. I'm not sure if it's just a different name for it on the market, but there are over 1,000 peperomias out there, so that seems pretty up in the air. Then I have this AGLAONEMA Silver Queen right here, which is absolutely gorgeous. It's getting a little too tall for this shelf though, because this leaf is getting stuck at the top here. If we move up a little bit, I have this Sansevieria Ehrenbergii, the Samurai Sansevieria. Then this is a CISSUS striata, the sugar vine. Really doing okay. It's not thriving, it's grown, but it's definitely getting a little bit of this kind of pale yellowish color to the green leaves. I got this in the same video where I got a waffle plant thingy down there, but I was a little less certain if this was going to be a good house plant, but it was like $2, so. And it's been living fine for a couple months, so I'd say I got my $2 worth. This is a Ceropegia linearis, just a little string of needles thingy that they call it. These are fabulous. I have a couple of them around my home and they'll get really, really long really fast. You can see it works its way all the way down there. And then this Sideraceous fuscata, which was from one of my Steve's Leaves unboxing videos that I did recently. Really fabulous houseplant. This is a CISSUS adenopoda. Really, really lovely. I feel like I'm going to say that about most houseplants in this video. All of my houseplants are lovely. All of them are fabulous. All of them are every compliment I can give them. Same with this Hoya Wayeti here. Gorgeous. I have a Hoya multiflora back there. A little bit of a thinner leaved Hoya, which is nice because it can handle a little bit less light. And it tells you very quickly if it needs water because of those thin leaves, unlike this Hoya Wayeti here, which is very, very thick and will not tell me anything ever. Another Hoya right here, this is a Hoya pubicalyx, which is growing up in this planter up here, kind of hiding behind this Syndapsis pictus. I think this might be the Silvery Ann variety, which is growing all the way up there and works its way all the way down here to my desk area. And let's see, I have this little PILEA cateri in this little terrarium here, which is not thriving. I kind of just threw it in there for funsies. Peperomia scandens, this is a plain green one. And then this is a Philodendron myoi, once again works its way all the way down, which is lovely with these hand-shaped leaves. I absolutely love them. And there is a Thematophyllum sprucianum up there, but ignore that because it's never been happy with me. And then over on my desk, over here, we have a couple different plants. This big one right here that you're probably noticing first and foremost is a Schefflera actinophylla nova, which is absolutely fabulous. I wish this thing was a little bit more available on the market. It's really, really lovely. I also have this fern right here. This is a blue star fern or a Phlebodium aureum. There is a Philodendron Bloody Mary right here, which is still kind of getting going, but it's getting there. I also have this Philodendron hastatum. It's like the narrow version, narrow form. It's also kind of needing to get going, but it's got a bunch of new growth tips, as you might be able to see. I know it's kind of in a mess back there, but hopefully it gets going. And then I have this Philodendron subhastatum back here. Got a couple leaves with this really lovely underside. As you can see, that's not something you see very often with philodendrons, that red. Really, really nice. Speaking of philodendrons, I have this trellis right here, which has this very, very lovely, so this was sold to me as a Philodendron Mexicanum from Glass Houseworks. I got this probably 2 or 3 years ago, which is lovely the way it's grown. It's all the way down here and it's going all the way up to my ceiling. I have heard or read in multiple comments in my videos that this is not a Mexicanum. I don't know what it is though, so let me know in the comments if you know, but it's amazing, but it doesn't have that purple underside that I think Mexicanum is known for. But these leaves are huge, as you can see. They're absolutely giant, at least a foot long. And then the other monstrosity that I have on my trellis here is this Syngonium chiapense, which is also growing up to the ceiling, and these leaves are also absolutely fabulous. There is a Dischidia acuminata on this little plaque right here. I also have a Dischidia oeantha variegata back here. This is kind of my wimpy one. It's never been happy with me. Before I get too over there, though, let's stay in this area. I have this Philodendron burl marks on the floor here, which, as you can see, like, is always in my way, which I think most people will kind of hate, but I kind of love it. Suits my personality. I have a Rhaphidophora. This is just a crispy leaf right here. This is the one that used to be in the background of my old videos when I lived in my old apartment that was growing up this trellis. I cut it back completely, and this had no leaves on it when I cut it back. Now it's got a couple. Most of them look good, but of course I'm sure that this brown one is sticking out like a sore thumb. But it's still got to get going, but you will see when we go into my bedroom all of the cuttings that I took on a plant that looks absolutely fabulous. Then there is this Philodendron pedatum. This, I absolutely love this thing, but it has just never gotten going for me. I have high hopes, but I don't know. This is my Philodendron Jose Boano that I took those cuttings off of that is starting to get going. It's got a couple little new shoots like this one right here with this gorgeous leaf. It has another one down there with this leaf on it. So that's why I cut this thing off, because it was ugly and wild. But now I think it looks a little bit better, but give it a couple more months and I think it's gonna look even better. Then there's this Philodendron tripartitum, which is really lovely, really cool with these 3-part leaves. I'm a big fan. You can see a couple more of them back here. A PILEA. I forget the name of it. The guy who gave this to me told me it was like a rare one, but everybody online says it's just a normal Stapelia. Also, there's an, oh, that's dead. There was an Nathana capensis back there, but I guess I forgot about it a little too long. I'm sure this Monstera is standing out. This is like a green version of a variegated Monstera, which I found growing in one of our Monsteras back when I worked at the plant shop. I probably found this like 3 years ago at this point. There is just so much going on over here. I don't even know what to talk about next. Let's stay over here. Let's stay on topic. So there's a little Hoya. This thing definitely has some mealybug. I've been cleaning a lot of my plants lately, but I haven't gotten over here yet, I will admit. So there is a Hoya carnosa crimson princess, but just ignore how I really need to clean it up. There's a Ripsalis paradoxa. There's a Lespismia cruciform. There is a Hoya curtisii. I'll show you a better looking one in a minute though. And just a couple more things that I need to be paying more attention to, like my Cryptanthus bivitatus. Arm's getting in the way. Cryptanthus bivitatus, Codonanthe, forget the name, Hoya Kamingiana, but this is, you know, the lower we get, the more shameful it looks. So let's just go over here now. So I have my Hoya australis right here. This one used to grow up to my ceiling in my old apartment, but now I have it on 2 bamboo hoops intertwined, and it's just looking, it's looking great. And then I have this Ficus Audrey. There is a Euphorbia Geroldii hanging out down there, the thornless crown of thorns. I thought this corner was a little bit more manicured, but now that I'm getting in here, I'm like, this is just a jumbled mess of nonsense. This is my Hoya Kerrii. There's 2 of them. It goes all the way down there. And this is where that Monstera is in the planter. This is the newer leaf on it, in case you're curious. On the floor, I have a Dracena reflexa. I think this is a Song of Jamaica. And then a Xerosichius dengai. There is a Ripsalis pachytera. There is a dead Peperomia, ignore that. And then this Epiphyllum acromanii. Just getting a little crazy. There's also the weird, like mutated Monstera. This probably looks completely normal to you, but it's got that green, but it's like really funky and weird, and I'm just hanging on to it. It's not really anything exciting. Okay, so now we're up into this window, the first window of many. Haha. Okay, so we have, of course, one of my OGs. Of course, it's blurry. Let's work on this together. Okay. So this is Ceropegia woodii variegata. The leaves are so teeny tiny on this, but I'm sure you can see that it's very, very variegated. We have this Dischidia ovata. Looks fabulous. I'm very happy that I'm finally able to successfully grow this. Although a couple of the vines here, you know, dried up, but we got some new growth coming. Also, then there's this Hoya curtisii. This one is really, really full. Looks absolutely lovely. And all these vines that are coming down. Another one that I struggled with for some time, but now in this apartment, it seems to be growing well. Then this long, beautiful trailing string of pearls right here, which I know that the lighting is going to be poor when they are in these windows, but you can see it's just lush as ever. Always got some pearls dying back, as you can kind of see. but it always looks lush too. And then I have this Peperomia boivinii, which looks very, very similar to Peperomia hope. It's just like a little bit like paler or bluer, but honestly, give or take either of them, I wouldn't obsess over boivinii if you already have hope. LOL. So this is a Ripsalis owaldiana. And then right next to it is, I believe, a Ripsalis pilocarpa. These two plants would take the cake for the two plants I forget to water the most, mostly because, one, I forget, but two, they always drip. So I like to take them to the sink, and I just never do that. But they are fortunately Ripsalis, which are excellent drought-tolerant houseplants. And they look great. I mean, this one looks better than this one, but this one still looks great. Okay, let's work our way over here. So in this window, I have another jumbled mess of plants. So this one, all the way on the left, is a Hoya obovata. Then I have a Hoya bella right next to it. This guy is a Peperomia kimnachii. Really, really love this Peperomia. Getting a little closer. And it's getting blurry. That's fantastic. Okay, and then I have this Hoya carnosa crimson queen. And an aloe vera. This was actually my first houseplant that I ever got, like 6 or 7 years ago. Oh my god, I guess it's 7 years ago now. Let's see, what else do we have? A whole bunch, I can tell you that much. This is a Peperomia cubensis variegata. There is a asparagus mayeri, I want to say. I'll put the right name on screen. I have this Tom's Thumb crassula variegated one. This was from Gully Greenhouse. This Pilocerius azureus, the blue cactus. I have this Hoya ban nong noi, a Dischidia rusifolia. There is a Hoya obscura, and a Euphorbia, I want to say Trigona variegata. Got a little mealybug on there, so I'll leave it now, but I'll go back and clean it off later with a little bit of alcohol and maybe a drop of soap or two. And of course some water to dilute it. I have another Hoya woyetii right here. This one's gotten some sun stress to it, and you can see how purple it's gotten. It's got like these like white spots. It's not mealybug. I don't know what it is, but it's something. This is a Ripsalis elliptica. This is a little tiny one. You'll see a larger one than I have at some other point. And then a little Hoya bella variegata, which is not thriving, but it's not dying either. So hang on there, little buddy. Oh no, okay, so down here I have this philodendron painted lady, which, you know, it's getting some new growth on it, but it's just small, and the old growth is dying back. I have a much better one of these in my bedroom. We'll get there. So this is a, what is this? Tetrastigma voynerianum. Looks practically the same as when I moved here. It always gets a little bit of new growth on it, and it will grow a leaf or two, and then the new growth beyond that dies back, and then it kind of continues that cycle. Then the older leaves die back. So not the best houseplant, but I absolutely love its vibe. But it definitely gets a lot of character. Definitely gets some brown crispy edges and some yellow bits here and there. But it is a really, really nice houseplant. Totally my vibe. Now we're going to work our way into this corner. I said in my apartment tour video that I was very overwhelmed by this corner. I'm working on it. I tried to make it a little less overwhelming. I'm feeling a little less overwhelmed. Could I do more? Perhaps. Anyway, we have this ficus right here. This is a Ficus elastica. Ruby is what it was sold to me as. It definitely looks a lot more Taneki right now, but I promise you, it was much more ruby when I bought it. In these glasses here, I have a Pseudoripsalis ramulosa and a little Hoya lacunosa. Up in the window, before we get down, I will forget about these totally if I don't. This is a Peperomia tetragona. I also have this Peperomia quadrangularis right here, which is not showing up very well, but it is a fabulous houseplant, so I do wish that it would get a little better visual for you. But a CISSUS rhombifolia elendinica, or the oak leaf CISSUS. I have this Hoya woyetii, and this one's variegated. And then a Ripsalis pentaptera right here. Okay. If we work our way down, I have this Natal mahogany, or Trichilia ematica, And then in the window past the ficus, let's go back there. So I have this Sansevieria bonsilensis, or Sansevieria cylindrica bonsilensis. Sorry, I'm trying to mess with the light there a little, not good enough. So I have a CISSUS rotundifolia right here. This is a much thicker leaved CISSUS, much more succulent than the one that I have up there. Peperomia incana, you'll see a sexier one later, and then a Sansevieria trifasciata gold flame, which is practically busting out of the planter. I just put it in not very long ago. I have Amydrium zippilanium right here. This is an asparagus retrofractus. I think that's it. Very fabulous. Anthurium superbum, Aglaomorpha fern, I forget the species. Then a Syndapsis trubii moonlight. A Philodendron tabapoense, another one of those that has a little bit of a purple underside. It's kind of nice. Kind of hidden back there, but I have another one in my home. Philodendron pink princess. Then AGLAONEMA red emerald, really, really fantastic plant, definitely in my top 10. Zamioculcas zamiofolia raven, the black leaf ZZ plant. I have a Hoya pubicalyx in there, and the little thingy right here. That is a pink silver Hoya pubicalyx. I forget which the one on the shelf was. If I remembered, I would have specified, but Peperomia hoffmanii is the little tiny leaf one right here, which every time I touch it, a couple leaves pop off, so I shouldn't be touching it. But Peperomia scandens variegata, and then hiding underneath that, I have a Monstera Peru. I have a Monstera adansonii in front of the TV, as well as a PILEA peperomioides over there, and you're probably thinking, don't those get in your way? Yes, they do. The Monstera less, because sometimes I can see through the holes at the angle, but I move them off, but then once they're off, I'm like, it looks too empty, and I put them back on. So depends how busy the TV situation is. I have a Hoya, what is that? I think, is it a Crinkle 8 or a Chelsea? I think it's Crinkle 8. And then a Peperomia clusiifolia red margin. What is that? Primulina sinensis. RUELLIA MAKOYANA, my other one looks so much better. I was like on the verge of throwing this one out, but I saw it was flowering, so I was like, I'll let it flower, and then maybe I'll cut it back and make some nice cuttings, because these tips are looking great, but the rest of the plant is just kind of bald. What do we have down here? Another Peperomia prescyifolia. It's like half dead, just ignore that one. Aspidistra, a ladier, Hoya retusa. Is a really awkward position because it's like in between my coffee table and the TV stand, so I can't really get in there, so I apologize, but I have a Syngonium erythrophyllum on the left here. That one's Yano Carty Road. Syndapsis silver splash in the center, and the right is Syndapsis pictus jade satin, which has a little bit of a runner going on down to the floor right now. I should probably do something about that. And then I have a Calathea mosaica and a Hoya crinkles tinkles on the floor there. I have a Stromanthe sanguinea triostar and a, what is this? Aglaonema chocolate. There is up here on the wall an orchid. This is, oh, I have no, Britonia Shelob Tolkien. That's it. It came back to me. I have a couple more plants over here. There is a Tillandsia streptophylla on the wall here. There's a couple more. I know that one's a Tillandsia ionantha. I don't know what that one is. I totally forget at this point. And up in this Vanda basket, I have my Anthurium gracile, which is kind of cool how it started to work its way down the bottom here. But oh my gosh, this plant, it's up here. Out of my reach. It's in sphagnum moss, so it dries out like the dickens. So we're hanging on. It looks fine, but I just feel one day I'm totally gonna forget about it a little too much. And then on the floor here, underneath my bar cart, which I keep all my lovely goods, and I keep my less desirable alcohol in the cabinet, this is a kangaroo paw fern or a Microsorum diversifolium. Okay, I think that was everything in the living room. Let me give you guys just a quick turnaround. Oh, I also have this little mount that I made up here. It's got a couple orchids on it. Another one of the Bretonias. There's an, oh my god, a Phalaenopsis, that's it. A Phalaenopsis. There's also a Ripsalis flicasa and some type of Hoya that I totally forget the name of it. I totally need to pull this down and water it. You can probably imagine I don't get up there very often. Sorry I'm not getting up closer to it, but yes, this is my living room. The lighting is getting god awful for filming this video, but we are going to make do. So living room, kitchen, that's the tea. And now let's move into the bedroom. Oh, we have a muffin. Hey, sweet pea, were you poozing? Okay, so I have this shelf system right here. Oh, of course she wants to come and say hello. Hey, sweet pea. Oh, she's so sweet. Isn't she the sweetest? Okay, sorry. Let's focus on the plants, but she knows she's being filmed. She's so cute. Okay, so the bulk of the plants. I have this whole IKEA shelf system right here, which I have rigged with some grow lights that I got on Amazon. I will leave my link to my Amazon storefront thingy that I have in the description. It's not like my products, it's just products that I've curated, and I get a very, very, very small kickback, so don't feel pressured because it's like literally no money. But you can support me slightly if you would like to. So what do I have? There's so much. Okay, so let's start up at the top and work our way down. So I have this Philodendron brantianum, and then behind it I have this Philodendron red emerald arubescens. You'll see a bigger one shortly. There is a Philodendron white princess, a Hoya. This is David Kamingii, and a Hoya retusa. There is a Hoya Ban Nong Noi. This one is much bigger than the other one that we saw in the living room. And a little Philodendron Bipinifolium aurea, so like the lemon lime version of Bipinifolium. That was from Gully Greenhouse, and that's a really cool houseplant, I think. There is a Peperomia Tingo Maria in the glass cloche. Once again, that's a glass cloche from IKEA. Not sponsored, never sponsored from IKEA. We don't want to be sponsored from IKEA, so don't you worry. This is a Schefflera actinophylla Dazzle. So it looks just like one of those normal like Schefflera that you would see at the garden center. I promise it's something a little bit more cooler. It's just a very juvenile version of this plant. So we will get there in like 10 years. Peperomia argyria. This is my better Philodendron painted lady. I took a cutting of that other one when I was worried about it, which I definitely made the right decision because this one's flourishing and the rest of the plant is not. This is a Hoya croniana. Then I have Hoya linearis. I was just doing some cleaning on my shelf today, so a couple of things might have gotten tucked here and there. This is a Hoya rotundiflora with the like squarish rectangular leaves, which is pretty nice and interesting. Another Ceropegia linearis, which you can see this one just goes all the way down to the floor, which is fantastic. I have a Hoya Iris Marie right here. I really, really love this Hoya. It's very thin-leaved, very similar to the Hoya multiflora, and has a very similar fashion to that, but it's a little bit more like wiry and wily and fun with its vines. I kind of like it. And there's this Sansevieria fernwood, as well as the Sansevieria, golden honey eye, I want to say. My Begonia maculata, I've had this thing for like 3 or 4 years now. I got it, I think, in like the first unboxing video I ever did with Steve's Leaves. And I have been putting this thing outside in the summer at my old apartment, but now I don't have an outside space, so it's kind of been showing me that it's not loving that, but we'll see what happens. Peperomia viridis variegata. It's got a little tiny little inflorescence on it, which is so exciting. You know, it's the most amazing bloom I've ever seen in my entire life. This is a Peperomia japonica, a Pipronum pineatum Cebu blue, and before we get down there, there is also this Philodendron heteroraceum variegata right here, or the variegated heartleaf philodendron kind of hiding, so a little hard to get on camera. Moving to the next shelf, I have a Syngonium erythrophyllum Cartier Road. Another one. This one's my older one. It's got a little bit more character. I just recently cut it back quite a bit and got rid of all these old lanky vines and just left all of the good, beautiful bits. Hoya lacunosa. Not looking that amazing. It looked beautiful in full a couple years ago, but it has since diminished. Peperomia, Peresciifolia. This is the much better looking one of all of the ones I have in my home. And it's in the little penis pot. This is by Group Partner, if you're curious. I get asked about that a lot. Oh my gosh, so we gotta get behind the vines here. And there's a Hoya macrophylla, albomarginata. There's this AGLAONEMA tricolor echo, is what it was sold at. Sorry, I know it's not the most clear. Just got one leaf, but we got a little growth tip coming in there, so wish me luck. And then a Sansevieria pinguicula, very, very pointy. You gotta watch your eyes and your fingers around this thingy. It's the walking Sansevieria, so I know it looks kind of like a normal Sansevieria right now, but eventually the babies will come out and they will be like a foot off the ground at best, which is pretty interesting. You should Google it if you have no idea what I'm talking about. This is Anthurium veitchii, Syngonium podophyllum, the albovariegatum, Peperomia dulstedii. Really getting going. I got this as a little tiny 2-inch pot from the Potted Elephant, and it's really come to know itself. Monstera adansonii right here, another one of those. CISSUS quadrangularis looks totally different than the other CISSUS that I've shown you in today's video. Piper ornatum, sometimes they call it Piper crocatum. This is another Syndapsis trubii moonlight. And then behind that I have this little tiny Philodendron florida, which I've been growing for a while, and it's kind of just like the Philodendron pedatum, not really taken off, but I have high hopes for this guy. I absolutely love the leaf shape. Kind of just lazing about all these other plants. This is Peperomia moonset. Looks kind of similar to Ancana, but it's a little bit greener. I'm sorry, I know we're like got all these vines in front here, but that's just kind of the joy of my houseplant tours, is the mess. So there's a Hoya pubicalyx silver splash all the way in the back. And then I have another PILEA grandifolia right here. Oh gosh, a little less glamorous than the one that I had in the kitchen, but I'm really thinking about cutting this one back very, very shortly and making a nice full pot again. Let's see, Senecio macroglossus, wax ivy. Always been a big fan of this houseplant, always will be. Another Ceropedia linearis right here. This one's got like a little bit of a like wider leaf than all the other ones that I have, but I still think they're all the same. Okay, we can move down to another shelf. How exciting. Oh, this one's kind of hiding. Like I said, I just did the shelves like the past couple days. So Philodendron radiatum right here. I have my Drimonia chiribogana. There's a Hoya elagiorum. This is definitely one of the Hoyas that I've had for like 2-3 years that has done literally nothing for me. So I feel like one day it's just gonna die. There is a Begonia conchifolia, really lovely plant. There's a Peperomia Kuwanka Banba. How fun of a name. There's just some Peperomia boivinii cuttings in there, or Hope. I think it's boivinii. Peperomia jungle red, they call it. Looks kind of like a rubella to me. Hoya carnosa, they call it something. It's the Hindu rope. Hoya carnosa compacta. Hoya pubicalyx. We got a whole slew of Hoyas right here, so I might as well just go through all of them. I have this Hoya Burtonii, affinity to Burtonii, I think they call it. Hoya, another Hoya carnosa crimson queen. And then there is a Hoya shepherdii right here. But let's go back to where we missed. There is a little Peperomia scandens right here with some funky variegation on it, as well as this Anthurium pedatoradiatum. Grew these 2 leaves for me like a year ago and I got really excited, and then it hasn't done anything since. This is another Philodendron florida. This one I bought much bigger, but it's put off these lovely 2 leaves ever since, and I'm thrilled because they're fabulous. Then in there is a CISSUS amazonica. Let's see. Okay, so back here is actually the Monstera obliqua that we got from Gully Greenhouse, and it's looking fabulous. The leaves are getting some really nice holes on them. I can't really turn it because of the situation, but this one leaf, I'll have to do an update eventually. It's got some really, really nice fenestrations, but let's let it grow a little bit more before we do a real true update. I have another Dischidia ovata. There's a Hoya australis lisa, which is hanging on for dear life. There is this Monstera. I got it as a mystery Monstera from Potted Elephant. I don't know if they have an ID on it now, but just this green plant. Nothing too exciting, but aroid lovers would still be excited about it, and I still think it's great. I still love a plain green plant. In fact, those are usually my favorite plants, as most of you probably know. So this is a Peperomia hope. You can see how similar it looks to that Boei vinii I was talking about earlier, as well as another type of Scandens. I don't think this one has a name. It's like a gray version. I don't know the tea with it. Oh my gosh, okay, so now we can go to the bottom row. The bottom row is definitely the most shameful of all of the rows. I will admit that forthright with you. This is a Hoya fichii, once again, hanging on for dear life. All the leaves are turning yellow. This thing is totally gonna be dead in like a week. I've had it for like 2 years though, so it's kind of sad, but I don't think it's grown one single leaf for me. This is a Hoya crassipes. It's getting a little shaded out. Peperomia elongata. It literally just dropped like 8 leaves in the past month because it got a bad case of thrips. I cleaned off all the leaves. Hopefully it's okay, but if not, it's just a plant. If it dies, it's okay. Let's see what else. There's a Rhaphidophora hey back there. Hey. There's a Sansevieria. What's the name of this? Kirkii. I think that's it. Sorry, we're in the thick of it down here. Oh gosh, I'm totally gonna knock something over. There is a Peperomia polybottria in the dead center there, with some Peperomia prostrata growing inside the planter as some ground cover. There's a Begonia acetosa back there, which, oops, sorry, that I very recently thought I was killing completely, but I think it might be on the comeback. Fingers crossed. And you can't even see it, but there is the oak leaf begonia back there, which just got too big, so I cut it back. And a dying plant, ignore it. I told you, it's a little shameful down here, as you will continue to see with this Alocasia reginula black velvet. My philodendron meme, which, God, this thing has been the most annoying philodendron to grow. It came with the most beautiful big leaves. One of my friends gave it to me as a gift, and it has since, long ago, dropped all of those large leaves and then grown little leaves and then died back and grown little leaves and died back. But we are trying. I have this Ripsalis, I forget the name. It's like it's the Ferrari one. It's fancy. Philodendron hastatum. This is a Rhaphidophora decursiva. We have a Peperomia bamboo stalks right there. There's a Hoya numelarioides back there. A Hoya gracilis. I apologize for the lighting down here. It's very crappy. This is, but what is it, a houseplant tour if I don't complain about the lighting? No, it's not. This is Monstera salsipicana, and this houseplant, I know people like love it, and I've tried growing it so many times, and always after a given amount of time, it does this, where it just like becomes long vines or just like leaves at the tips. I cannot do this. Is this my last attempt with this plant? Hell no, but it's gonna need to be replaced pretty soon. There is a Peperomia verticillata back there. This lovely philodendron is a squamiferum. Looks very similar to the Florida that I have right here, but the main difference is that this one has these very fuzzy red petioles, which this, I believe, is the parent plant to the Florida. So the Florida is a hybrid, while squamiferum is a species. There is a very bad looking Hoya sunrise right there. It's never looked good, except when I got it, of course. Little philodendron hostatum back there hanging on for dear life. Both of my hostatums, like, we're getting going with them. Give me a little bit more time with them. That Piper parmatum, however, is probably garbage, not gorgeous. You can barely see it. I've had this thing for a couple years, and it's not getting better. There's another Hoya right there, but none of that stuff matters. Let's get to the good stuff. Okay, so I have my Monstera standaleyana right here. The newest leaf is very white, so we will maybe have to take some action. I have another philodendron pink princess right here. This is kind of the one I just take cuttings off of and then let it regrow back, but I'm just kind of leaving it be for right now. So this, in all of its glory, this is the Rhaphidophora. It really doesn't look that great, but it's the Rhaphidophora that I took all the cuttings off of my old vine. And most of these leaves are new. Like all the leaves like here and up are all new and they look great and they're getting some really nice fenestrations to them. So I'm very happy. This is it doesn't really matter, but it's a like real Rhaphidophora. Like it wasn't grown from tissue culture, which most of the ones if you walk into a houseplant store are grown from tissue culture. So they look like 99% the same, but I feel like when I look at a mature Rhaphidophora that's grown like regularly versus the tissue culture, I can kind of tell a slight difference. Like these are a little bit more like green and wider and duller. I don't know. I don't know. We'll talk about it some other time. Okay, so I have this other trellis right here. Once again, a mess. But there's a Philodendron arubescens red emerald going up to the ceiling. It's in the pot in like the back there, but doesn't really matter. Let's see. So in the back corner, I have this Syngonium macrophyllum. It looks very similar to the Chia pence, but it's also very different. Monstera albo variegatum. Very young. I mean, I've had it for a couple years, but still, it's not very mature. There is Philodendron bipennifolium. There's also this like Syngonium philodendron thing that I have back here. It's not really thriving, so ignore it. I have a Philodendron Burl Marks Fantasy. I also have this Philodendron Campos Portoanum, which was doing good, and then I just put it up here. It worked its way into the window, which is a little too light for it, and you can tell. You can tell. But we're getting back to where we were. This is a Philodendron squamiferum once again. This one had a couple thrips on it recently, so I've been really taking care. You can kind of see the damage it did to like this leaf right here with this little bit of brown. Same one on this edge here, but we got to keep a close eye on it. And you are probably thinking, why don't I just move it away from these other plants and not put it at risk? Because I'm living on the edge. And on the floor here, I have another Philodendron Atabapoense. This is the one that has the purple on the back. Very lovely. This was a cutting I took, of course. And then this Philodendron Bernardopazii, also a cutting I took off the old one, but between you and me, I think I like this one a little bit better. I also have this stick. This is a Monstera subpinnata, but it doesn't have any leaves on it, and it's just this long, windly stick thingy. So I don't know if I want to like cut it and maybe try to propagate it or something, or just leave it, but I'm just gonna leave it for right now. I'm not taking any chances. So on my mount wall, just this little corner here that I cover with the mounts and makes it impossible to shut my blinds without moving them, of course. So this is a Dischidia. What is this one called? Imbricata. Yes, Dischidia imbricata. And then I have a Dischidia numularia variegata. I have this Hoya Mathai. And then there is a Dischidia ovata, one of my few that just won't grow for me. Unlike the one in the living room, which looks fabulous. But there's a Dischidia rustifolia. Clearly I like Dischidia, but I grow most of them here. Tillandsia tectorum, amazing air plant. If you don't grow air plants, try this one out before you continue to knock air plants. This is the larger Ripsalis elliptica that I was mentioning earlier. And then this Hoya motosia is what it was sold to me as. This is my Ficus elastica Taneki. So this is my actual Taneki. I know the other one looks Taneki, but that one was sold to me as Ruby. I don't know. I don't care. So this is my sexier Peperomia incana that I mentioned earlier. It is stunning and sexy and looks great. And then there is this Begonia, My Special Angel, which I just recently moved into the window. Really casting the light on it good, but it just wasn't thriving. And I don't think this is going to help, but caution to the wind. Then I have another Hoya macrophylla alba marginata. There is a Ceropegia silver glory, another Hoya affinity de Bertonier, and then this is a Kalanchoe, like it's like not marinara, but it sounds like marinara, but that's what I'm gonna call it. This plant, I don't know if I'm gonna like keep it or what, but this is a Schefflera actinophylla, and we've had our bouts with some bugs and stuff, and it looks okay. It doesn't look amazing, but yeah, I'm considering maybe ousting it for a new one just because it's been such a problem. I have this AGLAONEMA. I forget the name, of course. Sometimes they call it like Red Valentine, but I think this one had a different name. And I recently just noticed there's like a palm growing in here. Like this is a straight up palm. And this isn't like a plant that I've had for like a month and suddenly a palm's growing. Like I've had this thing for probably 2 years now. And suddenly we're getting a palm, which I can tell that thing is going to get annihilated by the bugs that have been given this thingy issues. But we will take it one step at a time. We have this muffin who is always excited to be on camera. Isn't that right, sweet pea? Oh, she's just gleaming in enthusiasm right now. So she is obsessed with my kalanchoe right here, my tomentosa. You might remember it looking beautiful before. But Muffin likes to rub up against the plant that I keep here if I'm sitting on the bench with her. And she knocked all of these leaves off, which you can see. They're sitting inside the planter. I need to cut this thing back. We'll get there. She doesn't chew on it. It's fine, but she loves it a little too much. I have this SANSEVIERIA TRIFASCIATA Bantel Sensation, which is, as always, a work of art. You can see Muffin's a huge fan of it. A HOYA CALLISTOPHYLLA has not done a single thing for me since I've had it. This is a HOYA Cow Yai, I think it is. Sorry, I can't turn it, and it's right above Muffin, so I don't want to mess with it too much because I don't want to make this plant fall on her. But it's got these really gorgeous, large leaves that are not going to show up in the light one bit. Then I have this Dischidia Owiantha variegata. Very, very full one. I love the way it trails down. But of course, the light's going to be playing devil's advocate. And I have this other Dischidia, or Dischidia, whatever you want to say, it's fine with me. This is the Green Cascade, or Owiantha, or Ionantha. I don't know what it is, but it's something. And then, I think we're almost done, but we're not done yet. This is a Platycerium bifurcatum, and that's a staghorn fern, and I think it's a quintessential houseplant in my opinion. And I have this Rhipsalis paradoxa right here, which this one looks dead. But these two look fine, but this one definitely looks dead. So hanging above my bed, I have my Epipremnum Pineatum Cebu Blue. I think it needs a drink. It's looking a little wilty, but besides that, it looks great. And I have this Aschenanthus longicalis, the Black Pagoda lipstick plant they call it, which has a very lovely underside to the leaves, which is not focusing, so let's try it again. It looks amazing from underneath, that's why I have it up on the wall here. I'm still figuring out what I'm gonna do here, so I don't intentionally have a big wall that's white here. I have an AGLAONEMA, I just watered this, so it's a little wilty, but this is an AGLAONEMA commutatum, Silver Bay, probably the most classic or common, both of them would be true, AGLAONEMA that you're going to see at the stores. Then I have my MONSTERA deliciosa right here, looking a little cobwebby. He kind of lives in this corner and doesn't really move, but yeah, probably needs a drink, probably needs a little bit of love, but it's a MONSTERA. It does what it needs to do. And then I have my shelf up here. Actually, before we go there, I'm gonna go to the floor real quick because I'll probably forget about these if I don't. This is a MONSTERA Peru, once again. This is a little bit of a larger one. I think I might have had this one a little bit longer. I don't actually think that's true. Then another Rhaphidophora decursiva. This one just clearly just kind of literally shoved underneath the table and forgotten about. And my Calathea orbifolia, which love. I'm so happy it's looking great. My roommate's cat at my old apartment would chew on the edges of the leaves. I'm sure you can see like this one is one of the remnants, so they get all brown and beat up. But now he's not here to chew on the leaves, so they're coming in nice and beautiful and green. A little bit of mealybug issues with this plant. I'm sure you can see like there's a little one hiding in there, but they usually hide on the back side of the leaves. I'm not seeing any right now, but I've been very mindful of cleaning this plant off because it's gorgeous, and these large calatheas can be few and far between. Okay, now let's go back up to the shelf, which once again, I just watered all of this stuff today, so some of it might be a little wilty, fair warning. I miss my Scindapsus exotica, Scindapsus pictus exotica. This is the one I always talk about that needs a repotting, and it still needs a repotting because I need to water it like every 3 days. Some Monstera adansonii. This is like the narrow form, as they call it. Once again, a little wilty because it just got a drink. Pothos, Epipremnum, Aureum, lemon lime, neon, totally blanking. This is a Philodendron domesticum. Really, really cool little plant. Just plain green, spade leaf philodendron, and it's just trailing all over the place, and I absolutely love it. I'm sure if I had a climb, it would be growing even better, but you can't tell me that that is just a really interesting looking little plant right there. And then there's a jumble mess of some Cebu blue and some Scindapsus in here, but let's talk about the lemon lime philodendron right here, the Hederaceum or Philodendron Hederaceum lemon lime, the Ripsalis pilocarpa, and finally, last but not least whatsoever, this, what is this called? This is a Selenocerius chrysocardium. This was the test. This was the final test for me today. So that is my houseplant collection. There is a lot. I'm sure the number one question everyone has is, how do I water all of these? It does not take me long at all. It takes me like 30 minutes a week to just go around with the watering can and hit everything. Of course, maintenance is what takes a little bit longer with this stuff. Oh, we'll go say hello to Muffin while we finish up this video. Maintenance is what takes the longest. It'll take me like a day or two, more likely, if I want to like clean off everything and give them all like a good like rinse off in the shower. But normal watering does not take long at all. But I've also been living like this for like 5-6 years now, so I've definitely got a little bit more streamlined. But yeah, so thank you guys so much for watching. If you don't already, follow me on Instagram at Philly Foliage, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys in my next video. Have a great day.